Episode 40 of the What Do We Do podcast. Bogey and Dewey here, and once again, now for the 5th time, I believe, we have a guest here on the What Do We Do podcast. First of all, Dew, how you doing?
Kyle, it's great to see you. Podcast listeners, great to talk to you. Video viewers, great to see you. Sully, thanks for being here. Kyle, these episodes are becoming my favorites. I'm sick of hearing myself speak, and I think you're sick of it too.
I hate listening to myself.
You know,
yes.
I just meant me, my friend. I just meant me. But with that, we are so honored to have a guest today who, is just a man amongst men. I've been blessed to call him a friend for, I'm going to say 10 plus years now, and to just be able to communicate with this individual and talk to him, learn from him. He's just a few years younger than me, but he has wisdom beyond his years, I'm going to tell you. And with that, I would like to formally introduce Lorron James to the show today. Lorron is a graduate of Arizona State University. He worked with the Arizona Diamondbacks baseball team as the community affairs coordinator before deciding to move back to Detroit and learn the family business. This family business is James Group International. Renaissance Global Logistics is a subsidiary of JGI, and it runs the global consolidation export operation for Ford Motor Company, which ships to 16 countries across the world. RGL also multi-model capabilities and handles other logistics services for General Motors in customer care and after sales. Now, I'm not done. Five Crowns Trucking, another subsidiary, specializes in just-in-time shuttling between its customers' sequencing centers and 2 FCA Chrysler manufacturing plants. Also, Magnolia Automotive Services is a joint venture between James Group and Toyota Tsusho America. They run the tire and wheel assembly operations for the Toyota Corolla in, I'm going to guess that's Mississippi, and 2 crossover vehicles for Toyota Mazda in Huntsville, Alabama. Today, Lorron James serves as CEO of James Group International, encapsulating all 3 entities. In addition to this fantastic career, Lorron also currently serves on the Detroit Athletic Club's board of directors. He also serves on the Children's Foundation board of directors, and he is also part owner of the Grand Rapids Drive basketball team. Without any further ado, I want to say welcome, Lorron, to the show. I'm proud to call you a friend, and I'm happy that you're here.
Dewey, thanks so much for having me today. I know you could have had a lot of guests today and any other day, so I'm definitely honored to be here with you both. Thank you.
Well, based on that introduction, how do you even have time to be here? I mean, my goodness, it seems like you are just busy as can be.
Well, it's something that I've had a passion for, just to be involved in the community. And, my father started the business back in 1971, and in order to kind of, keep it up, I wanted to meet individuals who I could, help, mold me and sharpen me. And it's been a really good experience the past almost 15 years being back home.
We were talking before the podcast recording, and you said that this is a very special year for your family, for the company. And if you could share kind of, what you said and what is happening this year with James Group International and the family, of course.
Well, this year is a pretty big year for us. First and foremost, everyone in the family is so healthy amidst everything that's been going on the past year. So I'm very thankful for that. But this year we're celebrating 50 years in business. Father started this company as a trucking company in 1971. My brother John is turning 40, and my father's turning 80. So we have a couple of milestones this year that we will be celebrating.
Now, how will you celebrate those? I'm assuming the way that the James family does things. I know that you're very much, from what I see in social media, very much caretakers to your employees. You think they are part of your family as well. So I'm assuming there'll be some celebrations there at James Group headquarters, but also for your father's 80th birthday. I'm going to imagine you're going to do a little something special for him as well.
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, our staff, they're the most important part of our operation. We can't do anything, and we're nothing without them. I believe we have some of the greatest employees in the state of Michigan, some of which have been in our organization for over 20, 25 years, which is, hard to say in our industry. So we'll definitely do something special for them. And then in September, for my father's 80th, I'll personally want to do something big, but my father's a country boy from Mississippi. I think all he'll want to do is sit by a fire, have a cigar, and hang out with his grandkids. So if I can make that happen for him, I think that'll be a success.
Right on. I think when you're 80, you get to choose how you party. Is that about right? Right.
Absolutely.
And I've had the pleasure of meeting your father. Mr. James is an amazing man, and I think that's a great segue into if you could talk about maybe how the company was started, and then also really kind of how you got involved. I know you didn't start as CEO, so maybe you could talk about your road to where you are now, and it's important for everyone listening out there because this is an inspirational story, right? What your father started and to where it is now is nothing less than amazing. Hard work, right, which I know, but also now with the second generation, your brother is also involved, but with you there and, where it is now is not the end, right? We always say here, we're just getting started. I'm sure James Group International is just getting started, if you will. So if you can talk about maybe the origin and walk us through, to present day, that'd be awesome.
Sure. No, I'm honored to. My father's the middle of 9 kids in rural Mississippi. He grew up in Starkville next to Mississippi State University and, wasn't allowed to go there when he graduated from high school. So he didn't really know what he wanted to be or what he wanted to do when he graduated. So he went to Mississippi Valley State. Another famous NFL receiver, Jerry Rice, also went there a lot bit after my father graduated. And then after that, he decided to move up to Toledo, Ohio, where some of his family was. He started a trucking company with his uncle, my great uncle Calvin Outlaw, actually starting off hauling Schlitz beer.
That's a great name, Outlaw.
Yeah.
That's a great last name, Outlaw.
Yeah, Calvin Outlaw, my great uncle Calvin Outlaw. And so he started off hauling Schlitz beer from Detroit to Milwaukee and coming back empty, basically trying to fulfill all the routes that other truck drivers didn't want to do. And he actually wanted to gain operating authority to haul car parts for Ford Motor Company, and actually had to end up taking the Interstate Commerce Commission, the ICC, to the Supreme Court multiple times to actually do that. And he actually won his case, which got then 1980 President Jimmy Carter to sign the Motor Carriers Act to allow other people to play in that industry. So he is definitely a pioneer in that space. And, trucking turned into export turned into IT and industrial real estate into what we're doing now. So when I moved back here from Phoenix in 2006, I kind of smirked when you said you weren't always CEO. A funny story, I walked into one of the biggest mistakes of my professional career, my first day in office. In the office, I walked into my father's office and said, "Hey, Dad, where's my office?" And as he took me by the back of the neck and walked downstairs, and he pointed at a propane forklift.
Okay.
And he said, "This is your office." I said, "How long is this going to be my office?" He says, "Until I tell you to get off." And I said, "What? Okay then." So I spent about 18 months moving steel coils around, doing dispatch. I drove the truck, did the footprints. I did shipping and receiving. I was a marketing manager, supply chain management manager, sales, business development, operations, and then after that, after I knew our business, he kind of threw me out to the wolves in the community, going to all the trade show fairs, telling other people who we were, and just trying to get our name out there. So if anyone asks me what my job description is now, I say that, my job is to keep our company relevant in the business, philanthropic, and bureaucratic community. And, it's been quite the journey, transitioning the business from him. My brother and I did buy him out about 1.5 years ago. So it's been interesting kind of carrying that on, and we've kept it going, and that's kind of the short version of how that's gone. But it's definitely been a very interesting and rewarding journey.
How has it been in the last year and working with your brother, right? Family, how does that dynamic work within the office? And then are there any other family members that are involved? And I got to imagine it, even though your father has been bought out, if you will, I have to imagine, that he is somehow involved. And does he, want to come in and you tell him to stay home, or does he have, some kind of, I don't know, some honorable position? What kind of, how does the dynamic work?
Well, John and I are like yin and yang. We have two pretty different personalities, but we work really well together. I love going to meetings with him because we can approach things from different angles. John ran a political campaign too over the past 3.5 years. He came up short in both of them, but coming from where he was, having no name recognition, and running the platform that he did, we're extremely proud of what he was able to accomplish, all the while giving back to the community while running his campaigns. But it's great working with him and having him back on board. My sister Carrie actually runs our family foundation, and she's involved in the philanthropic things and how we give back. My dad, likes to be involved. The company's his firstborn child, well before my brother, even 10 years older than my brother. And, although he's technically not involved in the day-to-day, he still does like to come in and, keep his thumb firmly pressed on the top of our heads whenever he can. And, we certainly like to indulge him and ask for his advice still, and he still likes to be involved. The eras are a little bit different, with our parents. He's over 40 years older than we are, and, I feel like he has to keep himself busy, we like to go on vacation to relax. He likes to go to his home in Mississippi to work, to be on his tractor, cut grass, work on his cars. It's just a different mentality. So I've been trying my best to understand, what he relates to the most and make him feel as comfortable as possible, knowing that, though he turned it over, he still has the confidence in us to ask us whatever he needs and help him stay connected to what we have going on. Some days I run out of the building wanting to, tear my hair out and screaming, but, I know at the end of the day, it's a very unique experience to work with my father, and, we definitely have a lot of great memories.
Well, and it's an opportunity, if you ever have issue in the office in a day, I guess you could get him on the phone and say, "Hey, Dad, who is this person, and where did this contract come from 15 years ago?" Maybe at least you could use him as the I don't know, the what do you call it, the Rolodex or whatever the case is from the past, right?
No, he's a great resource.
Yeah.
He's been on just about every board. He helped create a lot of them. He was one of the first people amongst the MMSDC, which was the then MMBDC board. Working with different diverse suppliers in the area, very involved with the Coleman A. Young Foundation, Boys and Girls Club of Southeast Michigan, and we try and actually continue, working with those boards along with our own initiatives around the city. So, we want to make sure that we carry on and maintain his legacy, while he's here. A lot of times people wait until people are gone and out of our lives to honor them and to fulfill some of their things that they supported, but we're trying to do as much as we can to honor him, and I think and hope he'll be here for another 80 years.
Absolutely.
For you specifically, how important and I guess how prideful are you in the fact that you didn't just come back from Phoenix and bam, you're CEO. You didn't just vault to the top, because, your dad ended up, building this entire thing. You did have to put in the time and do jobs maybe that you didn't want to do. But I do feel like working your way up the ladder is so important. You can learn so much. So I guess how much has that impacted, how you operate the business and how, you mentioned employees are so important and that's really the lifeblood of the entire company. But how much did that shape and change kind of how you operate everything because you had to go through all that?
I think one of the most important things about doing that was, earning the respect of the other staff that was there. I had other summer internships out on the floor, in shipping and receiving or the hoist line or non-conforming area, the conveyor lines, market area. And then when I came in and they saw me, I was there at 8 a.m. every day and I didn't leave until 5. There was the time when, you actually had to punch a clock. And if it said 8:01, then you got docked pay. If it said 4:58, you got docked pay. So, earning everyone's respect there and seeing, and right now, I'm 38, but I think other than maybe one other person there, I think I'm probably have the most seniority there right now out of everyone. So, I think people know what I can bring to the organization through my relationships outside of the company.
Hey guys, it's Bogey. I want to take a second to talk to you about Dewey Steffen and his excellent team at Great Lakes Wealth. Look, do you feel overwhelmed with managing your assets in today's financial world? I mean, think about the times we're in. Do you want financial freedom instead? Great Lakes Wealth offers Wall Street solutions with Main Street values. They sit down with you to develop custom financial solutions utilizing all of your assets, even your 401k. They build the future you want based on your goals and your dreams. That's what Great Lakes Wealth is all about. Thinking about you, thinking about your family, and thinking about your future. Simply go to greatlakeswealth.us to schedule an appointment today. They offer better investments and better service than anyone out there. Your road to financial freedom starts at greatlakeswealth.us. Please visit greatlakeswealth.us or simply give Great Lakes Wealth a call today.
The experiences that I've learned, the people that I've met to kind of enhance things have helped me actually create other entities within our corporation. And I don't think it's a very good practice for any young person to just go straight to this leading role. I think it's kind of toxic actually. I've learned so much from where I was, and no one can pull the wool over my eyes either. If someone says they can't get something done or something's not working, I'll just look at them and say, I don't think so.
I've been there.
Because I've done that before, right. and you can. Now, my job is to make sure and empower everyone that they can do their jobs as efficiently and as effectively as possible. But I don't ever want anyone to have an excuse of why they can't do something. But it's been a great experience, and I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Well, according to Black Enterprises in 2019, James Group International was ranked 30th out of 100 of the top Black-owned businesses. Have you heard this?
I have.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that we're fact-checked, right? And it's absolutely fantastic. But where are you going from here? Okay, and also maybe just how did you have to manage through COVID in the last 12 months? Any changes, and then where do you see going forward, either from your company or just from industry in general going forward?
Well, we try not to harp on different rankings and designations and, publications. Although we're honored to be a part of those things, we certainly don't, rest on those types of things. We can always get better. John and I are trying to turn our family company into, something a little bit larger, getting out of the automotive industry, diversifying, staying in the automotive industry while diversifying, to all my customers out there. We're trying to get into working in and outside of the state, and doing as much as we can, from expanding our real estate footprint to getting into other industries. And we have a couple of other projects going on right now that I don't want to jinx. Maybe I can come on later and tell you once they've come into fruition. But this past year with COVID, I don't think there's one company that COVID did not affect. I mean, from a personal standpoint, it hit all of us pretty hard. But in December, it actually turned out that we hit our numbers. The hard thing with us is that we work with Ford, General Motors, and FCA in Michigan. We work with Toyota and Mazda in Alabama, Toyota in Mississippi. So each OEM had their own restrictions and regulations on which plants are shutting down and where. And then the states had their different rules and regulations. Kentucky was very different than Michigan. Michigan was very different than Mississippi, Alabama. Down south was a little bit more slow with when they implemented things, but then their surges happened much later. So we had some hiring issues down south, there with training and keeping people on board and them being exposed to certain people with COVID. But we hitting our numbers, with the numbers going down and spiking back up, was a blessing. I think a part of that was that I always wanted to make sure that we kept our staff and employees safe, that they felt safe when they came into our office, but more importantly, they felt safe going back home to their families. That is my number one. Even people think I'm crazy for saying this, and I've said this on panels in front of my customers. I said, even before making money or even fulfilling my customers' duties, is keeping our staff safe. That is the number one thing is my job that I always want to make sure that I maintain. when everything happened through John's campaign, when we were down, we actually helped ship out water and food and PPE and things in the Detroit community to kind of keep things going. And we learned an awful lot the past 18 months. I've learned that there's a big difference between coming into the office 40 hours a week and working 40 hours a week. We were just as efficient with people being, remote than they were in the office, and we're giving our staff the option to either come in or stay home, whatever they're comfortable with. But so far, everything is still intact. The automotive industry is rebounding, and we're seeing some pretty positive gains so far.
Have you seen any issues with these computer chip shortages? Does that affect either any of your business lines, or just I know from the OEMs, they're having problems getting the complete units put together?
Hasn't affected us directly. We deal with production parts, which we export overseas for Ford. The customer care and after sales division is all aftermarket, so we'll receive slightly damaged material that we can identify what's salvageable and what's not. Whatever it is, we send to body shops to be used as spare parts. And then the supply risk organization is we can actually assume material from suppliers going under and metered out for GM with no lost time. Then you have the tire and wheel assembly for Toyota and Mazda. So there's different TPMS and different pieces of technology that we add to the tires and wheels as we mount them and ship them over and then to be added onto the vehicle. But luckily, that hasn't affected us directly. We do, however, answer the call whenever our customers need our help. To help other suppliers, even if it doesn't have a direct, positive effect on us. We believe that we're a part of the Ford, GM, Toyota family, and we try and operate as one supplier base. But we're continuing to kind of go on with what the industry and the economy gives us.
Awesome.
You mentioned Detroit and helping out and doing as much as you could for the community, over this past year. Obviously, everyone kind of needed to lend a hand and, do what they could, but just for all of us to basically get through, everything that was going on. So I guess for you and your family and, the company and all the endeavors that you guys have, how important is it, to have a presence in this area and try to help and do as many things, philanthropic things, as humanly possible?
The origin of Renaissance Global Logistics on Fort and Clark is actually started as a Renaissance zone. We built that building with Ford land in an area that was underemployed and underutilized to actually employ folks from that surrounding community. And back when that building was built in '98, we still have some of the same employees that never left, and some of them would have had multiple years of perfect attendance. I'll say that one more time. Multiple years of perfect attendance, which is something that you don't see because
unheard of.
It's unheard of these days, and they're dedicated to what we're doing.
Even when you're working from home and you don't have to
even when you're working from home, you still can't have perfect attendance, But I tell you what, the people in the surrounding community care about, what we did, and we were kind of first movers in that Southwest Detroit area. It wasn't the most desirable place to be at the time, but now you see Ford Motor Company and their mobility, I guess sections coming into Corktown with the train station and the whole big campus that they're building. But, it matters a lot to us to kind of, reach back into the community to, uplift folks that are graduating and say, hey, there are other options for you to do, whether it's on the direct or indirect side. Again, being a part of the Children's Foundation. I've been a part of others, the United Way cabinet. My brother was a part of Read to a Child. We're only as good as our people. A city is only as good as its people. And if you're not being a corporate citizen and making your surrounding area better, then, I think there's a lot more to just, having a business and community and making money and turning around and spending it in other places. One thing our father always taught us is to put that back into the community and hire people that reflect the surrounding community, be as diverse as you possibly can, and that has ended up working for us.
Well, I know that you're a huge ambassador for the city of Detroit, you and your family, right? But it sounds like with your companies that are outside of maybe the Metro Detroit market, can you speak to what you do see in the city of Detroit and some of the trends there, but also maybe to any of the other markets that you're in, and whether that's from the philanthropic perspective or just what you see, as a business leader in these different parts of America?
It's been great to spend more time in, I'll just use Huntsville, Alabama, for an example. The growth that's happening in Huntsville is unbelievable. The Mazda Toyota JV, it's called MTM US. Mazda Toyota manufacturing in the United States, is now the largest manufacturing automotive plant in the United States, surpassing Smyrna for Nissan. The amount of training and resources that they have for their staff there is phenomenal. And you're seeing a lot of growth at a fast pace in the southern states: South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, Spring Hill, even Tupelo, where our TMMS is for the Corolla. You're seeing a lot of positive growth out that way. To be completely transparent with you, I don't know if I'll get in trouble, there's not as many politics on the automotive side as there are here in Detroit. I'll just leave it at that. And it kind of allows them to do a few more things than we can do up here. But you know what? We're doing just fine up here. And, I can certainly respect, the folks that came before me. And, I acknowledge that I probably don't know everything, but I've learned quite a bit over the past 14, 15 years about how things work. But from a philanthropic level, folks in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisville, where our cross-dock is, they're very involved in the community. I get emails every day as far as, hey, can we support this initiative, just outside of Louisville? And although I don't really know anything about it, if they care enough to email me to say, hey, can we contribute to this Toys for Tots or for this fire stations initiative, the answer is always yes. 100. There's never been a time where someone said, can you give to this initiative, where I've said no. And it just speaks to the staff that we have and our partnership with Toyota 2 Show. And, we're just really, really, really blessed to be a part of a healthy, philanthropic community.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What about as it relates to your family foundation? I don't know if there's anything you want to speak about with that and what initiatives you have there.
It's relatively new. My sister Carrie has kind of taken the lead on that. She's definitely a lot smarter than me. John and Carrie got better grades, and they're a lot smarter than I am. So I kind of leave it to them to the more difficult things. But we focus on veteran issues, mental health, as well as education. So those are our three pillars that we focus on, which are very near and dear to our hearts, and we're looking to give to organizations who need a leg up in that field. A lot of times organizations are asked to donate to a lot of different causes, so we set up our own foundation to kind of hone all those things in and to actually be a little bit more intentional about how we give. So it's still really new. Carrie's doing a phenomenal job of kind of leading us and kind of, directing us to where we need to go for our giving initiatives, and hopefully that'll continue to mature over the years.
Well, you and your family are to be commended for your efforts. And if it's just getting started, as we like to say, we know that there's going to be big things ahead. So that's fantastic. How about we switch gears now?
Sure.
And, this is a finance and wealth management and financial planning and all things investment related podcast, right? So as Sully likes to always talk about, you can't have just one stream of income, not two, not three, but if you're just the average millionaire, you have 7 streams of income. And as Sully also says, he doesn't want to be average. He wants to be extra average, right? Extraordinary is what he says sometimes. So he wants 11, 12, 13 streams of income. So I know that you recently invested into the G League basketball team, right? So I'm assuming that was an investment that you hope will bear some fruit and maybe is another stream of income. So either if you want to talk about that specifically, fantastic, or just any other things that you're investing in or things that you're doing. Again, philanthropically, that's an investment that gives priceless returns, right? But anything that you're doing from an investment perspective to have different silos or different streams of income, if you would.
Well, I have to start off by saying that every investment that I gone after wasn't successful. Some I've had some winners, I've had some, I'll just say, not winners, but they've all been great experiences. We do have a couple streams coming in, and I invested in the drive. We just call it Mile High basketball before we kind of unveil our name and logo and our colors and all those things. With Steve Jabbar and Ben Wallace have been great partners. I'm a basketball fan, so I invested because I just enjoy the game. And if we, make a little money along the way, great, but that's not why I was in it. So, as a kid, the two things I always wanted to be when I grew up was a professional basketball player and the ninja.
Okay.
So, I can shoot a little bit, but my ninja skills are kind of lacking a little bit. But no, I'm invested in a couple of other things. I just am involved with a SPAC out of New York called Bet on America, which has been a great experience. My first public board that I've ever been on, invested in that. Another thing is Freight Verify, which gives our customers real-time visibility of where their material is in the supply chain. And we're working with, Cisco, Ford, the professor for supply chain management at MIT, Dr. Yossi Sheffi, is a partner of ours. Lauren Darnell, who created 3PL Logistics, had a company called Logicorp in which he sold, which operates as Ryder Logistics. He's on our board. Dave McGuffey, who is the ex-president of Covacent, is on our board. And we're looking to kind of give this technology to whichever customers need that type of tracking and tracing. So those are just a few things that we're invested in. I'm invested in a few other small things, trying to support whatever initiatives that my friends have, and my brother's invested in his things, and sister and mother. So some personal, some professional. But right now, to be honest with you, with our four customers, well, now 5 customers, that keeps us pretty busy, and we're trying to hone in and do as much as we can for them. And we've been a very conservative company over the past 50 years. We have a great relationship with our bank, a great credit line that we haven't used. We're debt free. The building that we operate out of for Ford is fully paid for. That's a good and a bad thing, because that means that we're not growing at the rate that we could be if we take out debt with our bank and do some things. So my brother and I have been having conversations with some private equity firms to figure out how we can take it from a family firm into something a little bit larger. And we're looking to kind of expand on a few things as the years come.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah, I haven't shared that with anyone, so it's
No, that's fascinating stuff, though. And I know we got to get to the DAC, and you're on the board of directors, and how you met Dewey, and if there's any stories at the DAC that you could share potentially that are appropriate or not.
Well, it's time to wrap up the show. Look at the time. Oh my gosh, time's up. We got to go.
There was that one time in Vegas.
Boy.
Before we get to that, now I really want to get to that. I don't even want to ask this anymore, but it's fascinating because there's business, there's the philanthropy, all the things that you guys are involved in. There's also family, obviously, that you guys are deeply connected. So I guess for you, how do you turn it off from time to time? When you're around your family, do you? I mean, I can speak for myself and my partner. We are talking business all day, every day, 24/7. It does not matter if we're out at dinner, if we're out, wherever doing what we want. But is there a way for you to turn it off? Have you found that, I guess, that work-life balance? Because that seems to be, especially for business owners, a pretty difficult thing to do.
It is, especially the family dynamic. People who say, don't take it personally. I mean, obviously, haven't been in a family business. It's hard not to take a family business personally. Sunday for breakfast at my parents' house has always been a great time, a time where I've wanted to turn it off and hang out with my nephews. But, like I said, my father's release point might be, talking about work, where I don't want to talk about work. But if I want to stay at the house and, be around him, then I just kind of get sucked in. And, I feel like, the way that my father wants to spend quality time with us is to get my brother and I in the same room at the same time, which is hard to do in itself because my brother has a family of his own. And then he'll kind of sit back and talk about, bring me up to speed on everything going on. I said, bring you up to speed with everything going on, And I'm like, how long that would take. But I, it's not just about us kind of reviewing and recapping. I think he just wants to sit back and look at his, boys and talk about the business that he created. And although we're trying to get away from that, he's trying to jump into it. And in the years past, there's been a little bit of rub from, I won't speak for John, I'll speak for myself since I've been in the business a little bit longer of, I don't want to talk about this, but I've learned over the years that it's not about me. And if, my 79-year-old father wants to pull me in and talk about business because he feels connected to it, then you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And it took a while for me to, mature and just to get over myself of exactly what I wanted to do and say, hey, talk to your dad with what he wants to discuss and go from there. Give him the comfort level that what's going on is going well. There'll be times where he'll come into the parking lot and say, hey, I don't see that many cars. And where is everybody? Well, Dad, this person's here, this person at this location, and everyone, no one quit today. The business is still running, but he's used to, especially without technology, he's used to seeing people there. He's used to, reaching out to touch something, to see that something's there. And as his son, now it's my turn to be as patient as he was with me when I was a child, and to say, this is what's going on. This is the plan. This is what we're doing. Call me if you don't want to email me. Tell me to come over. Now it's my turn to make you feel comfortable, and that's been difficult because I haven't been able to kind of move at the pace that I wanted to at all times. But I know that I'm not going to have him around forever, and I would rather have him around than any piece of business that I could ever earn. So I just kind of bite my lip and operate the way that he needs me to.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that when he hears this podcast, he will take a little sip of his coffee and smile a little bit and appreciate your point of view. Right, Lorron. With that, we are at a spot in the show that instead of it always being "What do we do?" because everyone is kind of sick and tired of hearing what I do or what I would do. This is called "What Lorron Do?" And this is the part of the show where we ask you to tell us what you would tell the 18-year-old Lorron if you had the opportunity to. And that could be about business, that could be about life, that could be about anything that you want.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I thought about that one. And the answer might surprise you or disappoint you, but I would tell 18-year-old Lorron not to take himself so seriously. I think when you're growing up in a business or, through school and figuring out what you want to do in college, you have this plan of where you see yourself and where you want to go and who you want to meet. And I would tell myself that if things don't go the way that you want them to go, it doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that you have to kind of reroute. You can keep trying to do what you were trying to do, but just certain things have changed. I was I was in an interesting spot in high school. I was a kind of a nerd, but I also played sports. I wasn't as cool as the other kids were, but I was one of the guys on the football team or whatever you want to call it, and ended up playing in college, which was a great experience. But I was kind of in this no man's land of trying to figure out who I was and doing the things that my parents instilled in me. And I didn't, this sounds crazy, and I'm not saying this to whatever, but I didn't really have my first drink until I was 21, 22. Like, I just tried to do everything by the book, and, was just scared to death if I got caught with a beer in my hand by 18 that I would be arrested and gone to jail forever, and I would, have
For anybody listening that's under 21, you will. You absolutely will. So you wait till you're 19 in Canada or 21 in the US of A.
Thank you for that message. I hope I didn't send out the wrong one, but no, it's I would just tell myself not to take myself too seriously. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be yourself. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't have to appease everyone. That's the quickest way to failure, is trying to, please everyone, because no matter what you do, someone's going to want something different from you. When I moved back to Detroit, maybe this is a little bit later than 18, but, when I moved into the city when Detroit wasn't such a popular place to be, and, I wanted to be someone who could give recommendations of where to go to eat or where to go to, do something. And I hated telling people no or that I didn't have an answer. And I think I kind of burnt myself out by trying to be this Detroit concierge type of a person, because, if you came to Detroit, you kind of had to know where you were going, especially back in, 2007, 8, and 9, when there wasn't as much to do as there is now. So I had a fear of disappointing people. But, I feel like one of my first major experiences with that was I got appointed to the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority by Mayor Duggan, and then he wanted me to be chairman. And I chaired that Port Authority for a couple of years. And then as things progressed with our business, I had to step down. So one of the most daunting things I had to do was, call Mayor Duggan and say, hello, sir. I want to let you know that I have enjoyed this, my time on the Port Authority, but it's time for me to step down. And I was so afraid of what he might say, and he said, Lorron, thank you so much for your service. I understand. I appreciate your service. Let me know if you need anything else or if you can do anything else in the city. And I hung up the phone with my heart still beating fast. And I said, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And I feel that people have as much respect for you when you tell them no or when your time is valuable. It's okay. It's okay to reroute and to tell people no if your heart is in the right place. And I think 18-year-old Lorron didn't really understand that. A part of me still doesn't understand that. And I would maybe go a little bit easier on myself saying that it's not the end of the world that things don't go exactly the way that I wanted them to.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. That is absolutely on point.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, I know from my early days of meeting Lorron that that's absolutely who he was. He wanted to do everything for everyone, and he wasn't doing it ever, to try to fit in or to try to make a name for himself. He was just always available, and that's just a statement of your character, Lorron. I've been again blessed to have known you for those 10+ years, and with that, I don't really think we need to get into details of our time at the DAC.
No, you avoided it.
The podcast listeners and video YouTube viewers. Lorron and I are both members of the Detroit Athletic Club. Lorron currently serves on the board of directors there. We share time on the basketball court, sometimes on the same team, sometimes on other teams. But we also travel, or used to travel, with the club's, tournament team, right? So we've been blessed to share some meals, share some conversations, share some time on the hardwood. And I'll tell one story where Lorron was on the other team, and here I am, 6'4" something, and he's not. And as he said earlier, he can shoot. And I've known this, but I also said there's no way this kid's going to shoot over my arms stretched up in the air like this. And it was a playoff game, and they were down by 1 with 5 seconds to go. And so I said, well, Lorron's going to dribble the ball up, but I'm just going to go to half court and stick my hand up, and he's going to shoot over it, and it won't even hit the backboard. Well, guess what? He took 2 dribbles, shot it from half court, eye on the target over my outstretched hand, and swish, nothing but net, one at the buzzer. And to this day, I'm excited that he made that shot and shaking my head because I was hoping I was moving on to the next round. But I don't know if you remember that one, Lorron, but that was an awesome finish to an awesome game.
No, there have been a lot of great memories on that court. Great memories and not so great memories. I've tore my ACL, meniscus, and Achilles on that court, so I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And we've won a couple of championships as well, and I met a lot of great guys. And one thing about Dewey, I think one of the first years, I believe in 2007, 8, or 9, I see this guy drive to the hoop, and he made a great finish around the hoop, and then all of a sudden I hear, this guy make this airplane noise. I said, "What? I guess they call Dewey the airplanes." He's kind of got this signature move that he does whenever he makes a basket. So I won't dare try to emulate that on air. I know he does that better than anyone, but I thought that was pretty impressive, a very confident thing for him to do. It kind of kept things light, and Dewey's always been a great guy to be around. He welcomed us all into his home. A year and a half or so ago, I was blown away with all the sports memorabilia that he has in his basement, and it was very impressive. And another great memory is when the first time the NACAD tournament was brought to Detroit. You helped me bring Mayor Bing to talk to everyone in the back pavilion, and I think that all the other clubs, New York Athletic Club and Fort Worth and Washington and LA, and they were really impressed to see one of the 50 greatest NBA players, who just so happened to be our mayor at the time, come and address everyone. So it was really cool to kind of, bring, and that was during a time where all these cities, didn't look at Detroit in the most positive light. Mm-hmm. So for them to, come from their hotels and, walk to the back pavilion and hear from Mayor Bing, we put on one of the nicer pre-basketball tournament events I believe that they've seen. So, and I know that you were a big part of helping me do that and make that happen. So a lot of good memories with Dewey and the guys in the basketball court, and hopefully we can get back out there playing without masks one of these days.
Yes. Yeah. We hope so, for sure. Kyle, anything else that you think we might have missed today?
No, I don't think. I'm glad we got a little bit of the DAC, story train out there. That's good.
Yeah, when you get a rebound and you want to go to the other end, it's called going coast to coast, right? And so when I go coast to coast, I like to go by airplane. Well, it's a little slower airplane these days, but that's how it goes. Well, anyway, for everyone out there, again, listening, Lorron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
This has been amazing. This podcast is all about community, giving back to the community, your philanthropic efforts, your family's efforts in the community is amazing. Our podcast, by giving exposure to you and some education to the listeners and to the viewers about just what you can do within your community. Many hands make light work. We say that a lot. And so I'm just proud that you were here. Thank you so much for being on episode 40. Can't believe that, Kyle.
It's amazing.
And with that, goodbye, everyone. And we're just getting started.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. You're the man.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or any specific security. It's only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Any indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. As always, please remember investing involves risks and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional.